Mpilo hails from Baltimore, Maryland. Like many, Mpilo says that his favorite time at Choate was the term he spent away, partaking in our term abroad in Spain. Or perhaps his favorite time was waking up on a recent Saturday morning to find that his friends had taken all of his clothes and hidden them someplace. In any case, Mpilo Norris.
It was a beautiful spring day. The sun was out, the birds were chirping, but of course, I was stuck inside completing my homework. I was in 3rd grade at the time, and it seemed to me that the only thing standing between me and my freedom were those pesky multiplication problems. Who even invented this stuff anyways, I thought? I'm never going to use it. I eventually decided to seek out my mother, because perhaps if I could convince her that the work was too hard, she'd let me go outside and play instead. Now, it really was a foolish idea from the beginning, because if you know anything about African mothers, you know that they don't play when it comes to academics. Mom, this work is too hard. Can I go outside instead? She started to laugh. Ha, you silly goose, are you crazy? Don't you know? Nothing in life is hard, only challenging. And if you keep saying that, you're gonna set yourself up to fail. But Mom, the teacher, Mpilo, I really don't care what the teacher has to say. Go use your brain and figure it out. And that was that. 8 years later, I now realize that sure enough, Mom always knows best. What my mother taught me that day was that we stunt our potential as individuals the moment we concede that circumstances are, quote, too hard. The problem we have is that when faced with a task we consider hard, we are prone to be complacent with mediocre results. Consider the definition of the word hard. It means unyielding, impenetrable, and tiresome, very discouraging attitudes. Challenge, on the other hand, is inspirational, something that by nature encourages one to compete. Think about it. Imagine you take an AP chemistry course and you receive a B- for your first term. There are 2 ways that you could look at that situation. One, you could say, well, a B- is okay because it's a hard AP class. And that's fine and dandy, but the issue with that is that now achieving an A has somewhat become a goal that is unachievable due to the difficulty of the class. Option 2, however, is saying, you know what? This class may be challenging, but that's the point. This is my battle, and I'm going to work towards that A and be victorious in the end. And as great as it may be for all of us to get straight A's, that's not the point. The point is, complacency is our enemy. And when we set our bars low, that keeps us from excelling. Oftentimes, we'll take Spanish 100, even if we're already fluent, just to get that easy A. We may not go for that varsity letter, not because we can't, but because we're not willing to struggle through practices. Or maybe we may never branch outside of our familiar social circles because we think it's too awkward to reach out. I implore us all to start embracing challenges and to stop avoiding them, because challenges are what define us as a school. And sure, we may not be successful 100% of the time, but what is important is that we change our attitudes towards challenge. Our football team could have never gone undefeated 3 years in a row had they looked at even one match and said, you know what, it's too difficult, we're going to lose. Rather, they accepted every contest with confidence and came out victorious in the end. Our school symphony orchestra could never travel the world, playing the most intricate pieces of music. Had even one of them said, you know what, this whole idea of practicing every day for 2 hours, not for me. I'm gonna practice twice a week instead. And our robotics team could have never won global titles had they been content with the work that had brought them to regional championships. Saying things are hard and avoiding opportunities to achieve and excel is not in our nature as a school. As our great alumni, JFK, once said, we do things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. In closing, I will leave us with an example of someone I believe is a champion of this ideal we are working towards. My roommate, Richard Lopez. As a veteran marathon finisher, he decided to embark on his biggest challenge yet, an Ironman, which, in other words, is 140 plus miles of biking, running, and swimming. But here's the problem. He doesn't know how to swim, and he only recently got his swim test certificate. Now, I'll be honest, I was a bad roommate. I laughed at first. But I was inspired by his tenacity. Very soon, he's going to be taking swimming lessons, and as you heard, he plans to compete in the near future. As interesting as his story may be, we should all be like Richard, because even when the odds seem stacked against us, we should set our minds on the challenge and not the obstacle. I am reminded of what former President Obama once said. The greatest tragedy in life is not missing our lofty goals, but setting our goals too low that we may achieve them. And that, my friends, is the key to success. Thank you.